Hello everybody, JGC Anime here, and today we're here to review the rest of Frieren Beyond Journey's End's first season. So without further ado, let's just hop right into this. So, we just wrapped up the first 16 episodes recently, and if anyone has seen that video, you will know that I really didn't care much for the first 16 episodes. There were parts of it I liked, there were parts of it I didn't care for, but overall, I did think it was a bad show. However, a lot of people seem to be really negative about that one. Some weren't too bad about it, just simply saying the show wasn't for me, which I was not too sure about myself. Maybe they were right, maybe they were wrong. But even so, I wanted to give the show another shot with the rest of the season. And so, yeah, today I'm going to talk about my experience after having sat down episodes 17 to 28. So without further ado, let's just hop right into this. So, what is the story after everything in the first 16 episodes? Basically, Frieren and team are now on their way to go take on this special first-class mage exam, so that way they're able to get over to their next destination, like their main goal. But in order to get through, they have to get through this exam first. At least one of them has to, that way they can actually go there. So now, Frieren and Fern are trying to take this exam and trying to see maybe they can manage through this thing along with a bunch of other mages on a path towards unlocking this achievement of getting the chance to become a first-class mage. Thus, we end up focusing on the rest of the episodes just entirely on that exam. And yeah, with that out of the way, let's hop into some spoiler-free thoughts. So, in terms of spoiler-free thoughts, I think that this was a lot better than the first half of this season. The first 16 episodes had this problem, at least in my opinion, where it took things a little too slow at times, and it took a while for the plot to really get going for anything. But in this half, from episode 17 to 28, it's just all plot. Constant plot thrown at you. There's a bit of a chill in between certain episodes, but it's mostly just plot being thrown at you, and I actually kind of loved it. I didn't love it like, say, something like Mushoku Tensei, where every single episode was just making me excited to see what happens next. However, during the second half of the season, I found myself getting both invested in the characters as well as the story this time around. I wouldn't say it grabbed my entire attention. We'll go more over that in the spoiler section. But overall, this second half of Frieren Season 1 was leagues better than what we saw in the first half, where the first half ended up taking too much of a chill pill throughout most of the season, being more chill and relaxed instead of actually trying to push a plot and narrative forward for this whole journey. Instead, this part actually tries to focus more on a plot. And while the end of the season does kind of help me reflect a bit on the past and make me think maybe those side adventures weren't so bad, I still feel like they weren't exactly the best, though I do look on them a bit more brightly now than I did before because I actually see it as a better experience. Though I'm not too certain yet how that would affect me going back if I tried to rewatch the show immediately. Maybe after a while I'll appreciate it if I go back and rewatch it at some point later on. But I still think that this half handled itself a lot better since there's an actual plot going forward. Because without diving into spoilers on this, I really love how we get a whole new cast of characters that we get to interact with within this whole, like, kind of arc. And I just really liked how each one had their own distinct personalities, different abilities, and I really do appreciate that we got to learn more about them since that made me get more into the show. And I actually found these new characters quite unique and a lot of fun. I can't go over what kind of people they are quite yet. We're saving that for the spoiler section. But I really enjoyed how each one had their own personality traits, different abilities, different magic skills, and it really helped me get super into what was happening. And I really just had such a good time, especially with the start of this whole exam thing. The middle point, it was all right. It wasn't as strong, but we'll go over that in the spoiler section. But overall, I think that both the beginning of this arc and the ending actually stick really freaking well. I really like it, and I thought that there were definitely some fun elements here. And definitely this next batch of episodes, after going through the first 16, I can definitely say that these next 12 were definitely a step up, at least for me personally. Not only that, but there were some other nice things here, such as the opening theme this time around actually really fit the vibe of Frieren really well, so I was able to just enjoy listening to it as the animation stuff played on screen. It was really nice. I liked it a lot. And yeah, overall, I just really did enjoy this season a lot more once we got to this point in time. Like, these last 12 episodes were definitely a lot better in terms of the overall plot being an actual plot this time, not just, hey, let's go here and let's go clean a beach. All right, now that we've cleaned the beach, now let's go clean this female statue. Let's just go do that for like 10 to 15 minutes straight. I'm sorry, I'm a bit annoyed by that part. I just don't like the fact that we had to spend so much time doing those side things, which, as I said, I respect them a bit more now. However, honestly, one thing I kind of appreciate about this is because there's so much plot focused on in this, that when we do get a chance to settle down, I actually appreciate it. Because unlike before, where we're chilling too much that it doesn't really feel as nice, in this story arc, we get a lot more of a serious atmosphere that when we get the chance to chill, it actually feels earned. It actually feels nice. I actually enjoy it, which is something I didn't really get from the first half because most of the first half was just chill. Almost no major plot developments or anything. It's just all chill. And I really appreciate that this half did a lot more of a good job making it more serious overall, though that's just my opinion. But yeah, that's all I can really say without spoiling anything. So we're just gonna have a spoiler section now. Here's a timestamp if you haven't seen this part of the show yet and you just want to skip to the end. But if you have seen it, I recommend sticking around and hear my thoughts. But if not, you should skip to the end so you don't get any spoilers. But again, if you have seen it, I recommend sticking around and hear my thoughts. So yeah, I'm gonna cut to part 5 and I'm going to enter the spoiler section. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Okay. So the first thing I want to talk about are a few of the new characters that to me personally I felt really stood out, which probably stood out for a lot of other people, but I just want to talk about those. So first of those is the connection between these two new characters called Ubel and Land, who are characters that originally just seemed like cool character designs that only Ubel was really kind of built up at all, so you weren't really sure what to expect. But both of them actually, honestly, in my opinion, definitely out of a lot of the characters, really stood out the most. I really enjoyed, especially Ubel's character. She's a lot of fun. And it's just really fascinating with how both her and Land are characters that I really thought weren't going to be super important. They were probably just going to be these characters that Frieren and team would take out, but they actually ended up having their own little side part of this whole thing, and I really liked that since I just really was impressed with how many characters, not just these two, but almost every other character I actually kind of grew attached to in a way, because each one has such unique personalities and abilities. Like how Ubel seems to have this ability where if she can kind of, I don't know if it's really sympathize, but if she can understand someone else's past, she's able to use their abilities. Or how Land has this thing where he just creates a bunch of clones, and in fact, it's a clone that actually was there at the exam in his place while he was just sipping tea at home. There were funny things like that. And I just really like how the two both grow a connection as well as kind of change as characters. Not like massively, but enough that you kind of think, huh, these two seem to be forming something here. And I feel that these characters that I thought I was going to probably hate because I was like, oh man, these are going to be bad people, I'm not going to like them at all. Actually, some of the characters I grew the most attached to this season, as unlike in the first half where we mainly focus on our main team and a few other side characters who we'll never see again, this is probably the first time in the entire show where we had a new consistent cast as of right now, and I really like the new cast. It's a shame we probably won't see most of them for a little while. I don't know when we'll see them again, but for what they were, they left a really big impact on me, as I really enjoyed how they acted and how they handled themselves and how each of them has their own abilities. Because it's not just these two, but there's also characters like Rubel, who kind of builds up as a character, like he's built up as a character who's might be conniving or evil, or maybe just wants to try and win in any way he can. And while some of that is true, then you see him actually help people out, and it turns out that he's more so just doing all of this stuff for basically kind of a promise he made to somebody he doesn't even remember the name of anymore. And it's really fascinating since you get to kind of understand him and how he might not be the same way you might consider him from the get-go, which really helps you know that you shouldn't always judge a book by its cover, which is a basic message, but you know. And I also really like how at the end of the show, he talks about how sometimes the little things that Himo the hero did really helped people out. And when he pointed that out, I thought back to all the earlier adventures that we kind of had like flashbacks on, and I thought, huh, he's kind of right there now I think about it. Maybe I shouldn't have treated those stories so harshly. I mean, I still don't love them, but once he pointed that out, it kind of helped me see things in a bit of a better light. I still don't love those side things where not too much happens, but even so, I kind of start to respect them a little bit now. I still, again, don't love them, but I respect them a bit more, so yeah. Some other characters that I actually thought were kind of a breath of fresh air compared to our normal cast were Luine and Kane. I don't know if I pronounced one of them right. I don't know, but we'll move past that for now. But basically, I really like how because they're teamed up with Frieren at the start of the first of the 3 exams, I just really enjoyed how they interacted with each other, since, you know, they're kind of tough lovers almost within this show, but they're just so much fun to watch at times because of the fact that Frieren is just over here watching the two of them always pick fights with each other, and she's just like, this is fine. This is fine. And I definitely enjoy the way she kind of interacted with these two, as it gave us a chance to kind of see what Frieren would do with a different set of people than the current people she travels with. Since we normally see her working with Fern quite a bit. Not as much with Stark, but we see her work with Fern quite a bit throughout this show. And in fact, we actually get that later on as well. But more often than not, we get to really dive into what Frieren would do if she was put on another team for something else, which in this case was the first exam. And I'll just come right out and say it. I think the first exam in this whole arc is the best part of the show so far. I love the story. I was super invested. I wanted to keep watching every brand new episode. I love the cast of characters. I really enjoyed how everything turned out. It was just so awesome, and it's definitely the highlight of the entire show for me so far. I absolutely just freaking loved it. I really enjoyed a lot of the elements, and I thought that it was definitely the best part, which is why I was thinking, oh, if they keep up the momentum with this arc, it's going to bring a lot more into the next arc as well. It's probably going to be even better. And we'll get to that in a little bit. But one more character I want to talk about before we move forward is Denkin, who has his own reasons for doing this exam and stuff like that. And I really like how he played a pretty pivotal role in a lot of the parts of this whole arc, since he helps people out by getting them to work together and trying to work through things and achieve victory, even if it kind of led to him almost failing the first exam when he tried to fight Frieren, which was a massive mistake. But basically, I do feel like he was very interesting, and I like the fact that he managed to pass the exam, even though not everyone did. In fact, I'll go over that later, but I really did think that it was nice that he managed to achieve that, and we'll get to go see his hometown, stuff like that, which was really nice. But yeah, moving past all those characters, now I want to talk about what I consider to be the weakest part of these episodes, and that is the second exam. Now, before I say anything, I do think that the ending of this exam is actually pretty good. Like, I do enjoy the fight of Frieren and Fern against Clay Frieren. I thought that was a really awesome fight. I really enjoyed a lot of elements here. However, as an arc as a whole, it was okay. I wouldn't say that I absolutely loved it, like a, oh yes, this is the best thing ever type of thing, but as a kind of midway point to the end, I thought it was decent enough. I enjoyed it. I definitely think it was a very strong story overall, and while I don't enjoy it as much as I did the first exam, I still think there was a lot of charm here, and I really did have a good time. But it's just that something here didn't really sit with me as much. I couldn't really place why, but as I was watching, I just didn't really like it as much as I did the first one. Maybe it's because of the fact that I really was just kind of hoping for more shenanigans with the other teams with Frieren, only to find out, oh, Frieren's just going to travel with Fern the whole time and nobody else, which isn't a duo I hate, but definitely one of the weakest duos, at least in my opinion, among the cast. I don't hate them, it's just I don't really like the fact that they're both just these tone voice characters talking with one another. And while yes, Frieren is pretty expressive when she wants to be, Fern is just always that calm toned voice, and the most she'll get angry is just like a puff in the cheeks, and that's it. She just doesn't really show too much emotion. And their conversations and stuff just don't hit me that much as other conversations and other interactions do in the show. Even so, I did think there was still a lot of charm to this arc, and I did this whole exam, but I definitely think that the second exam is by far the weakest part. It's still a good part, which is why I say that I did enjoy it, because it was overall pretty good, and the way it ended on a pretty solid note. However, as it went, it was the weakest part of the whole exam for me. Just the whole second exam was just a whole bunch of whatever. It was enjoyable enough, and I had a decent enough time with it, so yeah. But moving past that, I am now ready to talk about the third exam and the finale of this. And oh man, I did not expect these last two episodes to actually hit as hard as they did, not in a emotional sense, but in the sense of like, it actually really made me smile. I enjoyed how now that we're at the end of this whole storyline, we're ending it off with us confronting the main person who decides all of who passes and fails, that being Sari, who ends up trying to fail quite a few people, because out of everyone, it literally just goes from like a line of fails to a line of passes, where basically everyone up to Frieren just fail. But then you get to Fern, it's just like pass. It was really funny, but also a really good part, as it kind of helped you understand just how powerful Fern has become, and how someday maybe she'll end up being the death of Frieren, which is kind of interesting to me. And I really do think that while Fern could probably improve a bit more in the character development phase, I think that she is becoming more interesting by the day, and I would like to see how her character continues to develop. But yeah, I really enjoyed that, especially with how it's revealed that when she was allowed to pick one spell to learn, she was literally just like, I want to learn a cleaning spell that gets rid of all grime on clothes. It was pretty funny. And overall, this second batch of episodes was really charming, especially with some of the jokes they squeeze in there, like how Frieren always ends up falling for mimics. And at first I thought, okay, it's just kind of a goofy little joke, that's fine. But then we get to the end of the second exam, and they're like, wait, Frieren defeated the boss, but where's Frieren? Then he just cuts to her just trapped in a mimic, and it's just, I don't know why, but that got a really good laugh out of me. But overall, I definitely feel like the way this all wrapped up was pretty solid. And while there are definitely a few mediocre parts here, I definitely think that this was a massive step up from the first part of this season. And I think it handled itself in a much better way since, as I mentioned before, because we have exams here, whenever we take a day or two or maybe 3 to just rest for a bit, those actually feel earned this time. I no longer feel like it's just an awkward, kind of dull episode. Although, as I said before, I've kind of really reflected on those since the last episode, said some stuff that really hit me. But basically, I do feel like those storylines could have been a little more interesting. And when we finally got the chance to chill here, I definitely enjoyed it a lot more because I thought, okay, they just worked hard on this exam. They deserve a bit of a break. Which is why I actually enjoyed the more chill moments here than I did in the first season, since it's less like chill, then a bit of plot, then more chill. It became more of chill, plot, chill, plot, chill. It's just like, it definitely hit me a lot harder this time around, and I definitely enjoyed it a lot more. But yeah, there are some negative things here, though, I would like to talk about. Very 2 minor negative things that aren't a big deal. The first of which is, there wasn't enough Stark. Where was Stark during all this? He literally does almost nothing. The only time he does anything is during the relaxing episodes. Other than that, I mean, I get why he's not there, because it's a mage exam and he's the warrior, not a mage. But oh man, it was so upsetting that Stark really didn't get to do much of anything during these episodes. When he's the one character I want to learn the most about, because he's someone who, while we know he was the runaway from his village and that he was trained by one of Frieren's friends, the fact of the matter is he doesn't really do as much as I was kind of hoping he would do, and it's a bit sad because it feels like Stark is just kind of like that awkward tag-along that's just there, and it's mostly Frieren and Fern, but Stark's just there for the ride. But who knows, it might get resolved later on, since I do enjoy the story and I wouldn't be against seeing what happens next, and yeah. But other than that, the only other really disappointing thing was how Sign, a character who I was already concerned would leave, did actually leave. He left to go find his friend and leave the rest of the team, though the last episode that he was in was actually a pretty nice one overall, and I liked it a lot. But yeah, I definitely feel like this part was a lot stronger than the first half, and while I still don't get why people are calling it a masterpiece, it was pretty good. I liked it a lot. It was pretty good. But yeah, that's all I have to say. So we're at the conclusion of this video. And what are my final thoughts? Overall, I definitely think that this second half of Frieren was a lot stronger than the first, and I definitely found myself enjoying it a lot more overall. And I'm not opposed to seeing where their adventure goes next, since if the journey can keep up being interesting like it did with this, I'm 100% behind it. I'm 100% just ready to keep going. I'm ready to see what they do next. Unless they go back to just doing random side plots for the whole rest of the show, which I don't think I'd mind as much anymore, but at the same time, I don't know if I'd love them, but it is what it is. That's why I give Frieren episodes 16 to 28 a 9 out of 10. Pretty strong overall. I did enjoy it a lot, and I definitely would like to see more. So yeah, that's all I really have to say, and thank you all for watching. If you're new to the JGC Anime channel, don't forget to subscribe. I also do anime fans to the channel, and I will see you all around. Peace!